I left a 10-year career I hated, but it paid the bills well. And I literally saw no way out of it. I didn't think that I could.
Welcome to another episode of the Freedom Project TV. Today we have Stanton with us.
How are you doing?
I've been feeling very sad. Now, on yesterday's call, I was a 9, and by the time it ended, I went down to a 3.
Really?
And yeah, I don't know what it is. And then today, I just been feeling very sad, just sad. And I keep wanting to bring up a reason, like I'm trying to find a reason rather than just sitting in the sadness, say anything more than just that it was weird. Yeah. But at the same time, where I felt like something big going to happen, I don't know if it's big, but I just have that feeling that I'm coming through to something.
Hmm.
So
It's funny that you mentioned that because you were on the call. You hopped on the call with Scott, Em, and Simon, and me a couple days ago, and that was kind of what Scott was going through in his own way. Just this, and him and I talked a lot about that because I had sent them messages. I think right after I got back home from Pennsylvania about just some deep, deep sadness that was almost unexplainable to me. You know what I mean? Where it came from, and it was just so strange because I could identify, my mother and other sources of sadness and pain in my life, but it felt bigger than that. It felt like more, and I'm like, where is this really coming from? But it gets, I mean, if you saw the messages that I sent, they were just me being very open about what I was going through and what I was feeling, and the part of me doesn't even know why I'm here, and not like, oh, poor me, or I need help or anything like that, but just a very deep level of sadness. And I
yeah,
don't know. Part of it, I think, is, as you know, is accepting that, not
yeah,
necessarily. I mean, stay open to watching what comes. I guess, if there are insights along the way, but for me, my tendency can be to fight it or to
yeah.
cling on too much. But I think the best thing that I can do, at least in those situations, is kind of accept it and allow it to flow. And it doesn't mean you have to necessarily dive into it, but observe it, I guess, and
Yeah.
know it's not forever. So I get it. It's been a big theme for me the last couple months, on and off, really.
So this has been going on for the last couple months and not since Pennsylvania.
Well, I guess it's been going on my whole life, really. But I mean, it's come up like since Beyond Limits. I would say the first 6 months I was on quite a high, and because I learned all these new things and was like, all right, I get it, I see it. And then, but as they always say, new levels, new devils, and just new things just came up, and new levels of looking within myself that I don't think I was really ever able to do before started happening. And there's parts of that journey that aren't always fun.
Yeah, and that's what it is. It's like, and I didn't have a desire to reach out to anybody because I just can't explain it. It's just
Mm.
there. I'm just sitting with it, and as crappy as I feel, just having it because I mean, if when I think about it and look at everything around me, everything good. So yeah, so I don't know what happened on the call yesterday, but that was just really strange. That never happened before, and it's like, okay, here it is.
Yeah, I
So
know. I know exactly what you mean. Where same thing. Where I was looking around, I'm like, I can identify sources of this sadness, but I couldn't really. It just seemed like it was coming from somewhere else. Like because those 3D whatever issues that I work through right now, I'm pretty used to that level of sadness and that level of the dips around that, but it just seemed bigger than that. And who
yeah,
knows?
yeah.
Sometimes just sometimes you just got to let it be.
So I did wanted to. I think I sent you a message in reference to the lighthouse. What is that? What is behind the lighthouse between you and Scott?
I think there's not necessarily something behind it for him and I, but I think we just have a similar understanding of it and talk about it sometimes. But I remember this was probably years ago when I was kind of getting into like basic meditation. There was like the short 10-minute meditation called the Lighthouse meditation. And I really loved it because I mean, we get what the purpose of a lighthouse, but I never really sat with it for that long and thought about really what the lighthouse does. And that
Uh,
so in that meditation, it was all about, because I was at a point in my life where I was very much trying to fix things around me, very much, and not doing as much work on myself, thinking that a lot of what was going on, a lot of what needed addressed was the situations and the people around me. But in that meditation, it made it very clear to me in a new way, really, what a lighthouse does, the purpose it really serves, how it stands there in its own strength and
Mm,
on shore, and it guides people in, but completely without, opinion or without trying to. It just stands there in its own strength, and I really love that concept. And to the extent in which I will probably at one point get some lighthouse tattoo or something, because that was good for me to learn. It's not necessarily in my place to reach out around me to try to fix anything. Just stand in my own strength and
right.
guide people,
Yeah.
like a lighthouse.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that. That's beautiful. I like that.
I mean, I guess there's a little bit of a story to it, because when I've gone down to Florida with them, their house by Cape Coral, when we would take the boat out, we'd go by Sanibel Island in Florida, that's always been my heaven, I guess. Like when I picture my future life or anything like that, it's always like that's my happiest place that I've been to in my life. And so we would take their boat out to that right by that island, and there was this lighthouse there that I have so many pictures of me and my family together at since I was a little kid. And so I think because of that, those moments, we've had more conversations about lighthouses and the symbology behind it. But to me, that was just such an incredible feeling that was my paradise. That was my everything, or just my happy place. And then in a crazy turn of events, all of a sudden I'm there with Scott and him, and driving by the same island that I came to since I was a kid, looking at the same lighthouse that
So I have to ask you, so how long have you been with the Freedom Project? When did you start the course? Do you remember?
I looked it up a couple of weeks ago, because it was the end of March last year. So like
Okay.
right as the pandemic, right as all this stuff was happening, was when I all of a sudden the Freedom Project showed up. So it's been a little over a year.
What was the biggest change in you?
It's funny, because for some reason I had a feeling this question was coming, and I really don't know how to say one thing. I mean, in 1 year's time, I found the clarity to leave a 14-year relationship, and something that I'm so damn proud of, because we still communicate, and we if anything, we love each other more now than we did then, and we really do root each other on. It's unbelievable how lucky I got to be able to do that, because 10 years ago, had we tried to have ended that relationship, it would not have been nearly as graceful. And so there's that. This was when I stepped into Beyond Limits, was right around when I had probably got my mom's Alzheimer's diagnosis 6 months or so before that. And that rocked my world. That was, everything around me stopped, and I was devastated and didn't really know much about Alzheimer's at the time. But everything stopped. And so another thing that has come with the process of this and it was perfect timing, because Scott's had experience with that with his mother, and Simon and Gabs, and they've all, everyone in the group has some level of experience walking through these kinds of things that are hard as hell. And so, I mean, at that point in time, when I joined Beyond Limits, I was working neurotically to try to do anything I could to help my mom. The energy that I was doing it in was out of pain and desperation. And by no means am I sitting here 100% at peace with Alzheimer's, but I mean, I was angry. I was very mad at the universe. I was very bitter. I had no idea. We had been a dream to buy my mom a house our whole lives, and we finally did. Within months after that, she just started fading, and I was a very mad person. I was very upset. And so the timing of stepping into that was Beyond Limits was very helpful for me,
I
because
bet.
they understood these kinds of things in ways that no one else around me did. And I didn't always like what I heard. It didn't always resonate right away. I've been able to find love around the situation and more acceptance with watching my mom go through this, which is, I mean, the path that I was on a year ago around it would have been much different. I think without the support and wisdom from everyone in the Freedom Project. And I left a 10-year career, that I hated, but it paid the bills well. And I literally saw no way out of it. I didn't think that I could leave that. How could I sustain things without it? And I remember I just took a leap. And this was probably in week 3 of Beyond Limits, and was like, this is just not me. Because I got so clear that I finally had enough trust that if I let go of some of these things, it will create space for something new. And I did. And I mean, I don't know. This is a very long-winded answer, but I mean, so many
Right.
things.
Were you controlling before Beyond Limits, meaning had this perception that you know what I'm talking about? I
Oh,
know you do.
yeah, I know exactly what you mean. And no, there's not 1 ounce of controlling in my body, Ninja. I don't know what that feels like. Yeah, I was very controlling, and wanted to wanted to control as much as I could around me and with myself, with those around me. And I knew what people were doing wrong and what I thought they should be doing differently. And I had this very high bar for myself and for everyone around me. And that was a huge lesson for me to learn that just was not my place. It was never my place. And such a weight lifted, I guess, to learn that I don't need to, because I mean, a lot of it really was from good intention. I wanted good things for my family and I wanted things to work out, but there was this constant fight around it. And I've learned that I don't have to have that same fight to it, so there's still some control elements in me, but more easygoing than it was, I would say, a year or two ago.
It's funny because I can't see you like that. And of course, I came on long after you, so I never got to see the before, but it's so hard for me to see that about you. And because I just think that you're just a loving and a big heart.
Well, you can call my brother if you want some verification of that. He can tell you. But no, and that's the thing, Ninja. I have always had a very big heart, and I've always been very loving. I've loved my family and loved the people in my life very much. I've always been passionate, but my understanding of how you achieve the things that you want, has changed very much. And because of how much I love them, I would get very how much I wanted things to be a certain way, which I perceived to be what was healthy and best for everybody around me and myself. I would get very upset, that things weren't going those ways. And so, yeah, that's a burden that I've released mostly from myself and from those around me.
And you shared some pictures of your former work where you were doing something with the pipelines or something. And
Yeah.
it's so, even that is hard to see me or see you in that setting, because I've known you in this setting, what you do with the Beyond Limits and the Freedom Project. So it's fascinating when you share those pictures. I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't even see you doing that. Was that the last job before you left it? Yeah.
Yeah, I literally, that was right before the pandemic. And so they were kind of late. The job was almost over. They were laying people off and all this stuff. And then I was laid off and they offered me my job back, I think like week 2 of Beyond Limits. And I said no, which shocked me to say that. But yeah, that work it was just something that kind of happened, just over time. Like I would pipeline in the summers and, make some money in college and all this stuff. And it just became a thing. But it's that whole chameleon thing, I think, that we can all, or frog in boiling water, however you want to look at it, we can all slowly over time get used to these situations that we're really in a lot of ways miserable in, but it's what we know. Hell, I didn't really know that. I was trained my whole life that, you work very hard for money. Money doesn't grow on trees and all that stuff. So I saw no way around that. And so, when I decided to step away, I'm like, I'm crazy. This is the middle of the pandemic and I have all these bills. I have all these 3D financial responsibilities. Like everyone's going to think that I'm absolutely nuts, but I don't know. I took a leap of faith and it worked out, but it's pretty incredible to look back, because that was so not who I am. And the fact that I spent over a decade in a realm doing something that I parts of it I enjoyed, but overall I was miserable. I really did not relate to anyone there. I did not like 90% of the work. And
Yeah.
it's crazy what we can get used to if we allow ourselves to.
I gotta ask you this too. Did you got know each other for a while before you came on board?
For a couple of months, I don't even know exactly how it started, but I pretty much, found them on Facebook, Scott, Em, and Simon. And I started following all 3 of them for a couple of months. And I think they started like the 21-day abundance challenge and stuff like that I started participating in, and just got to know them better. And so I would watch their videos for months and months before I finally reached out and asked, what are they all about,
That's right. I forgot. Yeah, yeah.
But
Because it just seems like you guys have such a bond that I didn't know if you guys have known each other before the Freedom Project, but I guess that makes sense.
maybe in a past life, I'm not sure. I can't verify that for sure.
Hey, you
But
never
no,
know.
that was pretty much your journey, right? You came across them on Facebook and then just kind of started watching the content, and
Yeah.
next thing you knew, you're signed up
Oh
for
my,
something that you don't understand.
oh my God. Yes. Well, I have to say some of his videos were crazy. And because I was in that mindset, the video, oh my God, it would be 1 year on the 9th that I saw this video. I had been following Scott on Dr. Joe's Facebook page, and that particular one, literally brought me to my knees and I started crying on Broadway. And I commented, I don't remember what I said, but I said something. And the next day, he sent me a private message. And Stanton, I acted like a freaking movie star. Contacted me. I was like, oh my God, oh my God. I was like, oh my God. And now when I knowing Scott now, it's like, oh. But yeah, that's how it started. And I talked to him a week later on the phone, and I gave him my credit card number, and that was it. And I was like, wait, what just happened? Like, Dan, I didn't even ask him what I signed up for. Like, I didn't even know what I signed up for. I just gave him my credit card number. And then, you funded me, Em and Simon, and I'm thinking, who are these people?
Yeah,
And then
yeah.
Scott sent me a message a couple days later, and it's like, Simon and Em are trying to fund Quest you or something. I'm like, yeah, who are they?
Why?
Yeah, he mentioned you, so I was already prepared that you were gonna send me a friend request. And then July 20th, that is my new fishbowl. So yeah, it's crazy,
Yeah, I remember this
crazy.
same kind of thing in my own way. I mean, I wasn't exactly for sure what I was signing up for. I mean, I knew it was some kind of a coaching course, but I didn't really, it was hard for me to wrap my mind around exactly what 100% what I was getting myself into, but I just had a good enough feeling about it that it was worth trying. But yeah, same thing. I remember, it was in the mornings when I get ready for my last job, the job that I just hated. I would listen to his videos walking around. And I didn't know him, but he caught my attention. I could tell he was onto something that I wanted to know more about. And so yeah, as I got ready for this job I hated, every morning I listened to his videos. And I think for both of us, it's pretty wild to see what 1 year can do.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I'm gonna write something and post it either in the Freedom Project, and I'm gonna need your approval. Well, read it first.
Yeah, we'll
um,
see. We'll see what you write, Ninja.
make sure it's appropriate.
I see some of
Um,
your comments, so
yeah, yeah.
well, maybe it's time that I interview you for the Freedom Project TV.
No, that's okay.
Why? No, that actually would be a good idea. I would like to, I don't know. I guess it's probably different because I feel like I talk to you a lot one-on-one, so I have a feel for your journey, but I don't
Yeah.
know if a lot of other people do.
Honestly, Stanton, I don't. There's just so much that I'm getting from it, and that I'm continue to get from it, that I don't even know how I would narrow it down.
I know exactly what you mean because I mean, if you say we even had this conversation a week ago or a month ago or 6 months ago, they'd be different answers. There it is constantly evolving and constant evolution, which and that's I guess just how life works, whether you're on this journey or not. But especially if you're on this journey, then I don't. There's so many things that I could say. I guess what I shared was just some of like the 3D things that I changed around me, but an entirely new level of I guess awareness of my
Mm,
thoughts and the way that I view myself and the way that my judgments, all kinds of things. And
yeah,
so I would say that I have a lot more. Well, control is the wrong word. Control is what I
yeah,
wanted, but uh, just a
yeah,
lot more awareness and clarity around kind of even in the dark moments. It's not, as well, it's not always some wonderful parade, but even in the dark moments, I feel like I'm a lot more clear on exactly why they're coming up, and even if I don't know why they're coming up, is like how to proceed, how to handle my mind and my heart as I walk
yeah,
through these things. And so yeah, I mean that in itself changes every aspect of your life,
yeah.
that level of clarity.
Yeah, I think if I had to pick one, I think it's definitely awareness that I never had before.
Hmm.
I would just pissed off because somebody pissed me off. It wasn't me,
Yeah, yeah.
so I think if I had to pick one, it's definitely awareness. But the whole process of how it's all set up, where Scott talks about the mind, and then Simon brings up the emotion, and with M, you just work those emotions out. And the thing is that I tried to thank them before, like, it's like, thank you for creating this course. And they're like, don't thank us. You did all the work. And I'm like, yeah, but without you. And they're like, nope, don't thank us. Thank
Mhm.
yourself. And I'm like, fine. Then I'm not gonna thank you. You guys suck.
Have you seen that Snoop Dogg clip? He got some award, and the whole time he's like, "Finally, I'd like to thank myself for all the hard work that I put in. I'd like to thank myself for all the sleep I lost. I'd like to thank myself." And he just goes on this list about acknowledging the fact that the work that he's put in was him. You know, have you ever seen that?
No, I didn't.
You should. I'll send it to you. It's really funny, but it's also helpful, and it reminds me of what you were saying because when it's all said and done, it doesn't. You're only going to get what you put in this process, and so I mean I do get what they're saying, and that's something that I appreciate about them is that they don't claim to be gurus. They don't claim to be they're like, this is what I know, this is my experience, and this is what's been helpful for me in my journey, and here it is. If it's helpful for you, great.
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing that I love, 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 love about them is they're not always up here.
Hmm.
They come down and they let us know that they're down here. And the fact that they relate to us and we relate to them. And I think that is the first time being in a group, having the coaches, leaders, influencers, whatever you want to call them, we get to see them their bad days, just like
Hmm.
they get to see our bad days. And I love that they will share their vulnerability with us, with the rest of us, with the whole community. That's
I
huge.
hear you 100%. And actually, that's probably, like I said, if we had this conversation a month ago, 6 months ago, it'd be very different. But probably the biggest thing this last couple of weeks for me that I've taken away from this whole experience this last year is kind of what you just touched on. Is most of my life I knew well how to behave in certain situations. I knew what was expected of me, and so
Hmm.
that's how I performed. I mean, in any other job, you don't show up and be like, "Hey, I'm at a fucking two, and this is going on." You just show up at least trying to appear like you're at a 10. And so
Yeah,
my most recent lesson, I guess, is just remembering how to be human and remembering how to be open and honest with people. Cause I spent my whole life thinking that's not how I was supposed to proceed in the world. And to be around them and to be just in the group energy with everyone here, to learn that I don't have to have some facade, that's in fact completely unhelpful. And to remember how to just be myself, just no matter, without some filter, without what I think people expect, what I would make people proud, et cetera, et cetera, but just to be human and to see them and to see everybody else in the course go through these things and to open up. It's been monumental for me to learn how to do that myself, and to be around
yeah,
people that are brave enough to do that is awesome.
yeah, yeah. I totally agree. Honestly, it probably could be better, but I honestly don't think this could get any better, especially right now. I think everything is perfect the way it is, but I do know that they're trying to improve and they're trying to make some changes and stuff.
You mean
Yeah,
with the
and I
Freedom Project or with your own life?
yeah, the Freedom Project and the Beyond Limits. That seems to be evolving too, because when I started, it was just 6 weeks plus 2 weeks of after show, and but it seems like it's a little bit longer now.
Yeah, it's 9 weeks now, and I think they want to eventually take it to 10 weeks. But yeah, it's changed quite a bit since I've joined, over a year
I
ago,
bet. I
which I
bet.
love, and I love that about them too, because we have these conversations quite often where a priority to me as I became part of the team, was to not always reach for growth and to reach for the next thing, but to make sure that people that have taken the leap of faith and are with the Freedom Project right now are getting, first and foremost, are getting priority along the way. And so, like the Take Action Tuesday calls, that's some new thing that we've talked about that for months, but just thought that I really believe that'll add value for people. And so that's what I'm all about. Is my personal passion is of course, this will evolve, and that's exciting, and I look forward to the growth that's ahead, and I have no doubt it's coming. But I think the best part is there will always be passion about making sure that this really is valuable for people, and that's
Yeah.
it's talked about quite often with the three
Yeah.
of them.